Come on, Jim, get a haircut. Hey guys, welcome back. And today we'll talk about two cars I think are kind of important to the enthusiast scene. And they are Japanese cars. They are Japanese sports cars. It's not like we haven't had Japanese sports cars for a while. We just haven't had Japanese sports cars like we used to remember them being around. They were like legendary presences that would just, they would be unassuming but blow the competition away. And they would be super fun, kind of scary at the same time. But we haven't had that for a long time. And that's why the return of the GR Supra in 2018, 2019 was a big deal, because that was a nameplate that was so revered and so famous at that point because of movies and whatever else, and because it's a really great car, that its return was so hyped. I mean, the hype was justified. It was a great car to drive. There are some people who say that, well, maybe it's not. It's a BMW. So how can you call it a Toyota if everything is? We'll talk about that later. It's controversial, but now it has a legit competitor, because when it came out, everyone thought, okay, it'll go up against the really old, even back then, the really old 370Z from Nissan. And at that point, then the 370Z was like, 10 years old, 9 years old? It was old. It was gonna be replaced soon, but Nissan hadn't been talking about that. And now, recently, I think like last week or 2 weeks ago at least, at the most, Nissan unveiled the actual new version, the actual new Z, which is just called the Z. Okay, there's no 400Z, there's no 370Z, no more numbers, just a letter, the Nissan Z. I think it's great because, first of all, it's twin-turbo V6, 3 liters, so they can't go by displacement anymore. No more 3.7 V6 or 370Z, 3.5 liter V6, 350Z. So basically, they've taken a car that we all love, a formula that we all love, and packaged it in a modern, retro-ish body, and gave it a big engine, a big power engine, a 400 horsepower V6, which is more powerful than the straight 6 in the Supra. Okay, let's just pause for a little while and just be thankful that we have two sports cars, two big power, rear-wheel drive, front-engine sports cars from Japanese makers. I think that's a great time. It's a great time if Honda and maybe someone else, I don't know, maybe Subaru wants to get into the game, making a Supra of their own, like, you have the twins 86 and BRZ. Anyway, that's a tangent for the day. How does the Z compare to the Supra? On paper, actually, the Z is actually better spec-wise because it's more powerful, 400 horsepower, from its twin-turbo V6. And by the way, this V6 is not a new V6, it's in the Q60 Red Sport. So 400 horsepower and 475 Newton meters of torque. That's pretty powerful, power-wise. But the Supra has 500 Newton meters of torque. That's 25 extra, but it's down on power, so 382 from the Supra. And crucially, it also comes, the Z comes with a manual gearbox. You can't get a manual on the Supra. It's a 8-speed automatic, a ZF automatic, like you would get in a Z4 with the Supra, and nothing else. So if you're looking for that raw experience, front engine, big power, rear-wheel drive, manual in the middle, 3 pedals, the Z is the only one for you, because Toyota doesn't offer that. Even though they actually advertise that as like a driver's car, they're missing a crucial component. You can't pay enough money to Toyota to make a manual version, at least not yet. It doesn't exist. Which is kind of funny, because I wonder if BMW would do it. Because right now they sell the Z4, which is basically a convertible version. They're both the same car exactly. If you go into the Supra, I mean, look, underneath it, it's a Z4. It's a platform. It's the CLAR platform BMW. It's got a 3-liter straight 6 turbo from BMW. It's made, the Supra I mean, the Supra is made alongside the Z4 in Austria by Magnus Steyr. So it's a BMW, right? All the recalls are coming in for the BMW Z4 also apply to the Supra because it's the same car. So how can you call it a competitor, really? that's up to you to decide. Are you bothered by that? To me, I like BMW, so it doesn't really matter. Just, I wish it was more authentic. Yeah, that's the only thing that I can say about the Supra that actually is a gripe. It's like a little thorn in my side about the fact that BMW had to help them out when actually Nissan, Toyota has enough money to buy and sell Nissan a few times over, but they can't afford or chose not to afford or to spend the money to build a bespoke sports car when Nissan did exactly that. Strange. So on paper, the Supra doesn't make much sense. And when you think about it too, you have... So okay, these two cars are actually catering to the North American market, to the USA market, okay? And that's where it's being sold most of the time. And even the Nissan Z, there isn't any kind of pricing or spec for a European version, a Japanese version, much less an Asian, Southeast Asian version. So when you think about it that way, how much can Nissan claw at the American market for the Supra? Quite a lot, because the Supra starts, maybe because it's German made or German sourced and Austrian made, is more expensive. The Supra in America costs 43,000 USD, which is some money, just a lot of money. The Nissan Z hasn't got a firm price yet, but Nissan execs say that it should start around 40,000 USD. So around 40,000 USD. Let's just say it's 42K, okay? 42K for the base Nissan Z. The thing is, if you go for the Supra, the base model at 43,000 isn't for the 3-liter model, the 3-liter engine. You would get a 2-liter straight 4, which is the B58. So if you have like a 3 series or a 5 series, that same 4-cylinder and the 530e is in the Supra. You don't want that version. So you want to go apple to apple, right? So you want to compare the 3-liter Supra to the 3-liter Z. I just want to keep saying 400Z for some reason. So if you want to compare those two cars, you get to spend $51,000 US compared to $43,000 US or 42K for the Z. That's like a $10,000 difference between two cars, because the Z doesn't even offer anything below that 3-liter V6. That's a big deal, because that's around 17% cheaper than the Supra. So okay, if the Z comes to Malaysia and it's the same price difference because they're all CVU, if the Z comes to Malaysia and is 17% cheaper, all these numbers, man, it'll cost about 100,000 ringgit cheaper than the Supra. But the Supra costs so much more money and really isn't even a Toyota. So you get a more authentic experience with the Z, you get a manual, you get a more powerful, drivetrain, you get, I don't know, it's a good looking car, you get a good looking car, and it's much cheaper. I think it's a no-brainer if they can sell it to multiple markets, because right now, I think a lot of markets in Europe and Asia are really just itching for that kind of sweet spot in the market. It's not a supercar, it's not an 86 BRZ competitor, but it's in the middle. It's fast and it's luxurious, and it's also kind of a GT, but it's compact and light enough to be, really fun sports car on the weekends. That's a good combo. And if in most countries it can undercut the GR Supra, which I think it can, Nissan has got a winner on its hands. So yeah, that is so far how it's turning out to be. If Toyota can make the Supra a little bit more competitive price-wise, I would definitely go for the Supra. But right now, if I had the keys to both and to keep one, I would go for the Z. It's just too good a package to not be praised.